I'm in sync with the earth. 10 toes deep, flower child from the turf. I never switch sides, like even when I die, I'ma ride for the squad. Let up ties in the hearse. I've been on the vibe, kinda hard to describe. I'm in between, I'm good and it's fine, but I'm tired of the grind. Then I come alive in the night to realize I'm in the middle with it.
Like it or not starts now.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. I'm your host, Rebecca Azor, here flying solo. The other two B's are not here, Bubba and Ben. Ben is doing some church work, and Bubba couldn't be here at this time because it is later than usual. I'm calling it the morning show, but make it afternoon, right? We're doing fix the mic. There we go. The morning show, but in the afternoon, where the kinks are going to happen, whether or not Ben or Bubba are here. But I got my producer David in the building, so let's rock. Let's talk a couple of things. But before we get started, even though my colleagues aren't here, you know how I always want to start check in, right? So I haven't done my monthly check in just yet on the page, but if you're watching right now, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Send this on over to a friend of a friend of a friend, because you know I'm not here for a long time, but I'm here for a good time. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun. And before we start, we're checking in, right? So I wanted to give you guys an update a little bit about. I know I told you guys about the story of my run-in last month. It wasn't even last month. It was January. At the end of January, right before February. February 1st, with the cops, right? So I want to give you a quick update with that. So I went to the court date a month later, which was just about a few days ago. I went to the court date. That was my first time ever having to go to court for anything for real like that. But went to the court date, sat there, didn't know I had to take the day off, didn't really know. And as far as those hours of work, I thought I had to just go in, get the information that I needed, and leave. But that wasn't the case. I was there all day. It was so many other people there for similar situations, guys. Remember I told you about the insurance, how the insurance wasn't reading. They couldn't pull up my insurance, and even though I tried to show them, it just didn't matter. So ended up getting hit with a whole bunch of tickets, yada yada, a few tickets, and but went so I can get this thing over with. But I had to sit in court. The judge presented himself, let us know our rights, told us that we can, it's like they were educating us on how the system works. And it was almost like he was telling us, hey, y'all are in here, minor offenses. You don't have to, go through all of this. You like know your rights type of thing. He did that. And a lot of people that were there were for minor traffic violations. But there was one specific person who came there who had multiple DUIs. And I'm like, Lord, I'm in here with people who's actually trying to kill folks. That's how I was feeling. And it was a breeze. He had his lawyer. So the white man had his lawyer. Also a marijuana charge on top of that. So multiple DUIs and a marijuana charge. So I'm saying this, stay with me. White man had a lawyer. They were able to skip the line, come before all of us, and get him off with just time served, which is 2 days in jail, and like 200 hours of community service. And I'm like, there's Uber, there's all these other things, but this man gets a slap on the wrist because he can afford a lawyer. So I'm just monitoring. We can't have our phones, that thing. And you guys might know this. I don't. This is my first time going through the process, right? So while sitting in there, I had to deal with all of that. I was the last one out of like about 60 people to be called. So I had to sit there through the whole thing. And I remember going to the back, they make it this whole thing. I had to go to the back. I had to talk to prosecutor, I believe. And he was just like, you know what you're being charged with. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like charged with? Well, he was just saying, with the tickets, but what I can do is so that you don't get any, I know a lot of people in there had the insurance issue, but what I can do for you is kind of like just nonchalantly, I'm just going to go ahead and put that you were just going a little slower than you were. But I'm like, well, I was speeding, not so much, but what about the other things? He was like, okay, well, this will be $100. But you guys, I left there having a bill of over $1,500 for tickets, right? Because the insurance alone is about $1,000. The insurance alone is about $1,080 for a ticket. Yeah. And so he's like, well, now you're going to go on probation. I have an actual probation officer that I have to report to make payments. And I have to pay the probation officer an extra fee on top of that for the first 3 months so that I can pay that off. And I'm like, because I don't have a lawyer to help me with the situation. I had to speak before the judge. I got to do all these things. And I'm sitting here and I have a probation officer and I'm like, as if I did a major crime. So it was just very draining that day. But I had to leave there and say, you know what? Got through it, did what I need to do. But y'all, I'm on probation. I'm not a criminal. Remember, I was telling you guys just the whole thing of it when I have these running with the officers, and I'm realizing that I have this trigger when I see officers from my younger experience to now. And just how the justice system works. If you have the money to get you a lawyer, or if you have the connections to get a lawyer, or whatever the case may be, they can just make it disappear for you. But if you don't have that, they take all of this money from you, whether or not you have the evidence. Some people had evidence of them having insurance and still were told to pay. And if you don't pay, then you may have to serve jail time. All of that, you guys. All of that. Even though I showed them, I had everything literally less than 24 hours later. I got my car back. I paid what I needed to pay, showed them the insurance, got a new license, all of what was required that I didn't know what was happening because of the city of Atlanta's mistake. But that's where I was. And it was super duper frustrating. I had a tough day that day, but I had to pull myself back. I was going through the why me parts of it, and I was letting it bleed through other parts of my life in that moment. And it is super draining. I'm not going to lie. It is super duper draining, but we're here. Today I had to work. That's why we are late this morning, or we're doing a late show, because I had to work. And with that being said, we're here though. And if any of you guys are going through some moments that are super duper tough for you, I feel like I said super duper like 99 times. But if y'all going through some times that's a little rough, I don't want to leave you with the heaviness. I sat in it. I'm not gonna lie, I sat in it. I needed to just feel it, because I just felt like this year has been hitting me with a couple of things, and I've discussed that with you guys a couple of times in different ways, in different areas, and it's getting pretty hard to try to trek through. I saw this woman post. I think Essence had their Women's History brunch, or Women in Hollywood, right? And this woman, I saw her post something like this, and I can relate because this is how I've been feeling too. But I guess she's in the acting world, and she was saying how it was such a blessing to be in the room. And at the same time, it was like bittersweet because she's in the room, she's being honored, she gets to speak amongst all these great people with all these great people. But then she is also in debt. She said she had to leave there early to go to her part-time job, to make ends meet. It's funny how you can be in the room and alongside people, working alongside people. If you guys have known me through my career, I have been on some of the biggest platforms. I've had millions of views. I've had all of the above. And it's funny because I just find myself feeling like all of this, and I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for people to know me. I'm so grateful that people love my work. But it's almost like a bittersweet thing, because while I love doing this work, while I love being here before you guys, it's like I almost feel like, when is it going to be beneficial for me so I can be here with you guys all the time? When is this going to be a possibility for this to be my main work, and financially? So I have that grateful feeling that I'm able to do this. Um, but it sucks sometimes, when you get hit with life and people are thinking, oh, just because I was on this platform or just because you saw me here, that, oh, she's doing so well, she's doing this, she's doing like she has to be great. And I'm grateful for the recognition. I'm grateful for all that. But I'm at a place where I am like, I also want, for the same way I saw that man walk in the building, get his tickets swiped away because he had privilege, and some of these other people that I, may work alongside, that I see who can just turn on their camera and do this work, and see it work for them, where they don't have to do anything else but this work. I get frustrated sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, where I feel like I um it's it's not working in my favor sometimes. I'm not saying that for pity. I'm not saying that for any of that, but this is my job. This is something that I love. This is where my passion is. I don't have the ability some days to just turn on the camera because I have to work. Um, and that's how I make ends meet. And then when I get hit like this with these things that are out of the blue, because of the color of my skin, because of the city that I live in, because of things that I'm fighting for, because of the things that I say. Sometimes I feel like it gets a little heavy for me. Not to say that I'm going to stop the work, not to say that I'm not going to be here with you guys, but that's just where I am. And it can get really draining. I've been working on my show, the Shades of Good News. I've finished and doing the first episode. And it's just been really hard for me to even get that together because of the work that I have to do in my regular life for my day to day to make ends meet. I know that you guys see me in my beautiful apartment, and how long it took me to get here. If y'all would have knew, what my story was before that, and even here, just maintaining to make sure I got a roof over my head. Um, it's not as you guys may think, but at the same time, I'm here and I want to do the work for you guys. So if you're watching, please like, share, subscribe. Tip your host. Today is just me, Becca's Voice, Cash App. Also, my I Am Now super chats available. I stream on my page now. We got the Benjamin Dixon show. We have Bubba. We are all together in this. And I really see when I get on other platforms and I hear about how people are, just able to do all the work. I'm not complaining, but it's I look at it and I'm like, wow, I wish I can do the same. I wish I can just be able to tune in with you guys. The other day I was trying to talk the State of the Union, but I worked overtime. I worked overtime on Thursday that I couldn't even give the energy and the attentiveness that I wanted to, especially with what else was going on in me, and that is just me sharing my truth, not for you guys to be upset with me, and I do not want you guys to also look at me as a goodwill. Hey y'all, I'm looking at you. I don't want you guys to look at me as a goodwill, because sometimes that looks like, oh, we're just gonna, you know, just support that little show over there. This is not a little show. This is my show. This is my baby. Shades of Good News. When that comes out, you guys are gonna love it. Um, I know I've been saying it's coming out for a while, but it's just been so tough with a lot of the time to put into it. And so, with that being said, um, this is not just a little show. This is a show that we put our heart and soul into. I have a producer who we want to make sure we pay. We used to have a team, but we could no longer keep that team for financial reasons. I fund the program that we're using now, and just recently wasn't able to get that done. So I say all this to say, when you guys don't see me, don't think I'm being lazy on it. I just gotta make sure that the life is happening. But I say all that to say, yes, it's very bittersweet, but I love being here with you guys. I love being here with you guys. I know that I'm qualified for the space. I know that this is a gift of mine. I got degrees to prove it. I've been in the rooms with people who have hired me because of my talent. And even in those rooms, they've said that I was they wanted me to be a certain kind of way, and I didn't want to change. And I've grown over the years, for what, a decade, with you guys. Been a journalist for over since I was like 18. I've been working in the newsroom, just a whole thing. So I say all that to say, when you guys see me, just know, like, hey, that's the girl. I want you guys to give that energy and not, we don't want that over here. Okay. We want the support. We are here to give you the news. Here to give you good entertainment. We're here to uplift you. You're going to get all the good things. And specifically, it's Women's History Month. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. I've been doing this thing, especially when it first came out, with talking about politics and Trump just being in office, and us at the time having one of the biggest platforms to discuss that, working alongside so many different people, your favorites and favorites and favorites. I've been there. I had the opportunity to have your local Georgia representatives from around the nation. So, I'm glad that I was able to be one of the pioneers when it came to digital media, when it wasn't looked at as how it is now. So, I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back for that. So I say all that to say, I love you guys, mean it. Sorry for the rant. However, we got some conversations to have. Okay. We have some conversations to have. And I think today we're just going to stick on the State of the Union. Let's go through some of the points that our president, Joe Biden, was discussing on Thursday evening. He did discuss, we're just going to go through some highlights. And I am going to watch with you, because I watched the State of the Union address, but I didn't get to watch the Republican response. So we're going to do that live. We're going to do that together. It's afternoon. So I don't know what y'all drink in the afternoon. You better not be on no liquor. Okay. So I don't know what you guys are drinking in the afternoon. But get some tea. Okay. Because we doing the body good. Get some tea. I don't know what it's looking like, but I'll be your ray of sunshine. Let's have a good time. Let's have some conversation. State of the Union 2024 highlights. Okay. Biden talks Trump, democracy, abortion. And he also, surprisingly, mentioned Gaza, or was it Israel? But we have those clips and we're going to play them, and we're going to talk about Katie Britt and the Republican response, because I didn't know who she was until Thursday. So, David, what we got? Let's start me with something. Some of the State of the Union conversations, and we can play through it. What do we have first?
1941, Franklin Roosevelt came to this chamber to speak to the nation, and he said, "I address you at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union. Hitler was on the march. War was raging in Europe. President Roosevelt's purpose was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary time. Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world. Tonight, I come to this same chamber to address the nation. Now, it's we who face an unprecedented moment in the history of the Union. And yes, my purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that this is no ordinary moment either. Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home as they are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time. Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march, invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself. That is all. That is all Ukraine is asking. They're not asking for American soldiers. In fact, there are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine, and I'm determined to keep it that way. But now, assistance to Ukraine is being blocked by those who want to walk away from our world leadership.
So, of course, I'm glad that he did mention Ukraine, I will say, because I know a lot of the news and a lot of the conversations have veered, out of that because it's no longer what I would say media popular. So we don't really know what's really going on. But for him to, say they were still standing with Ukraine, is great to hear, right? Because Ukraine does need assistance, and of course, what does America do best? We gonna help y'all with some weapons. We gonna jump into everybody's business and help y'all with some weapons. So I say that. Funny enough, mentioning Ukraine, I was like, okay, so he mentions Ukraine. Of course, won't mention his mentions Ukraine, but we don't get the same energy. And I don't know if you can skip around in clips, David, but we don't get that same energy when he mentions, or to me, fails to really mention Gaza. Okay, Palestinians. So I want to go to that clip next because we have that fervor in the conversation with Ukraine, rightfully so, against Russia, and how he plans to help, not sending out any American soldiers, but, of course, sending out weapons, and to fund the weapons to go there. Now, I want us to see and juxtapose that to his conversation about what's going on currently. Ukraine is happening currently, and what's going on now with Israel and Palestine. Let's take a listen.
Has a added burden because Hamas hides and operates among the civilian population like cowards under hospitals, daycare centers, and all the like. Israel also has a fundamental responsibility, though, to protect innocent civilians in Gaza. This war the United States has been leading international efforts to get more humanitarian assistance to Gaza. Tonight, I'm directing the U.S. military to lead an emergency mission to establish a temporary pier in the Mediterranean on the coast of Gaza that can receive large shipments carrying food, water, medicine, and temporary shelters. No U.S. boots will be on the ground. A temporary pier will enable a massive increase in the amount of humanitarian assistance getting into Gaza every day. And Israel must do its part. Israel must allow more aid into Gaza to ensure humanitarian workers aren't caught in the crossfire. And they're announcing they're going to have a crossing in northern Gaza. For the leadership of Israel, I say this: humanitarian assistance cannot be a secondary consideration or a bargaining chip. Protecting and saving innocent lives has to be a priority. As we look to the future, the only real solution to the situation is a two-state solution over time.
The real solution is to definitely ceasefire, right? A definite ceasefire. But what I did hear was, and we can see the energy of the crowd. We can see, of course, him mentioning Gaza. And if you're watching in real time, you'll see him start out with how a lot of people are starting out with the story of Israel and Gaza. We're hearing, they'll start off with the concert. They'll start off with October 7th, I believe, the concert goers and the people who lost their lives, and mentioning the number of deaths of people who lost their lives then, and blaming Hamas and how Hamas, and of course we condemn Hamas. And I want to be 100% clear. Everybody on this show, like it or not, we definitely condemn Hamas. But mentioning and starting out with those, like the numbers and people who died and how they need to bring those people home, absolutely, but not really going in to identifying the number of deaths, which at this moment is over 30,000 deaths in Gaza. Okay. And of course, there needs to be food and everything of the sort. These are important things. And to mention it, I absolutely was amazed that he actually mentioned that. But, and yes, you are right. Support the arts. This issue has definitely been before October 7th. And which is why we see how the people of Gaza have been treated. The Palestinian, this has been a issue for a long time, and now we're seeing this uprising. We're seeing this actual war, and the people who are suffering the most, we have to be honest, every single day they are bombing. They don't have the opportunity to just live as the people in Israel. People can go visit Israel. We saw Tiffany Haddish basically being on a vacation to Israel, to me, to go witness war so that she can get a better understanding. And that's my opinion. I talked about this on the show already. But for him not to mention the lives lost, the number of lives lost, and at least a ceasefire. We're not talking about a humanitarian pause, anything like that. For him not to mention those people, and what's happening in the country actually, and them having, because if we want to talk numbers, why don't you mention the people slaughtered, the genocide that's happening there? If we're gonna do that whole situation and just mention Gaza, and people are standing up so that, and clapping because he said Gaza and because he said he's gonna feed them. Now, if you watch it in real time, him even discussing how he's gonna get food to them, having to go, can't even go through Israel, got to go around. It's gonna take a minute for them to even get the food. It's gonna take a minute for them to get the food that they need right now, in the midst of these bombings, being told they'll have these 4-hour gaps to find shelter, or whatever else is they've come up with this week. But that's what we're hearing, and it's not helpful. As our leader, and we're seeing this right now while they're campaigning, while he's wanting to be president again, and these talking points that people are just clapping for. And again, Republicans and I believe our president, the allyship is huge. We see that with Israel. So they can't speak against Israel, but this is a people thing, right? If it's all people, we should have that conversation. But you have supplied the Israel with more to continue genocide against the people of Gaza, yet you want to feed them. Let's make it make sense. And they need the food. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they don't need it. But you can't even go through Israel to get to them. Meanwhile, that's how you got to get there. You got to go do 6 jobs to get around to those people who are hungry right now, those people who need saving, those people who every day somebody is dying, a child is dying, an area, it's not even so big. That area is unrecognizable. Every second while I sit here and talk to you, somebody is dying. Meanwhile, in Israel, the conditions are not like that. But the story that they have to present, our president, the story that has to be presented to us is Hamas, only Hamas. And if we present it like that, we don't have to worry about the children who are unalived every single moment as I sit here and talk to you. The people who are unalived, kids that don't have family members, kids who are gone, them blowing up hospitals. We don't have to discuss that. And that's the problem. Our president, and if I can be real candid with you guys, I know right now we're searching for the next president, right? This is the year. We're getting closer. And the conversations, people who are voting uncommitted, let me tell you something. I don't like it. I don't like the uncommitted idea. I understand it. It was just on Mark Lamont talking with, I believe, Dr. John, I believe his name is, and voting uncommitted is making a statement, but it's also taking away from the votes that can go to Joe Biden, because we know that it'll either be Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I'm not saying, and hear me very clear, I believe that we can do 2 things. We can prevent Donald Trump from coming into the White House. I don't even like Joe Biden, but we have to protect ourselves. We can also still hold Joe Biden accountable while he's in office. This is what we have, unfortunately. We're not doing the lesser of two evils. I want you guys to really look at your lives. Not even the people who are in his party. You see people who, while he's talking, you see, because I say two things can be true. He is the president. We saw what Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, these are people who will sit in front of him, hear him speak, respect him enough, and make sure they hold up signs. Ceasefire. We hear you talking, but this is what we on right now. This is what we're fighting for. Ceasefire. Let's stop adding. Let's stop putting the blood on our hands. We can have that conversation. We can hold them accountable because that's Joe Biden's history. Think about Donald Trump, who is also somebody who is in support of just funding anything whoever ally, let's support them. Let's give them what they need. Let's give them guns. Let's do what we need to do. Funding the military like nobody's business. War. Imagine Donald Trump just being like president imagine what it would look like. I don't know if people aren't understanding that America itself has stood beside so many genocides, right? In the Middle East, we know this is America's history. Historically, America itself came to be because of genocide of indigenous people. So our leaders historically are no different. So voting uncommitted would be problematic. Because it will get us closer to, in my opinion, Donald Trump. I'm not saying we can't hold Joe Biden accountable, because we got to. He is not. If it was for me, if we had more options, if it was looking different, absolutely. But this is what we got. Let's be smart about it, y'all. Let's not give these. Right. My producer says the uncommitted vote should only be in the primary for messaging. So much so that I feel like in the State of the Union, I feel like he could have addressed it in a way as well. Why are people voting uncommitted for you? Why? Do you know the resistance? You're speaking. This is the State of the Union address. Your own peers are questioning your capabilities as a leader because of your support for the genocide. And I felt like he could have spoke more to that in his speech. But again, this is politics. And what we would want to expect from our leader, especially now, we most likely won't get it. So this is why we got to make sure we still have control. Having Donald Trump, we won't have control. If you remember when he was in office, what that looked like. So much division, so much pain, domestic terrorist attack, racism, police brutality, guns. I know that in his speech as well, Joe Biden discussed banning, I believe, rifles. I don't remember the particular rifle, but banning them, the purchase of them. And I mean, that's the first time that I've heard that type of verbiage. So I think we're going somewhere. But imagine Donald Trump, who's just in support of the NRA, these people that guns is life, people sending out all kinds of our leaders taking pictures with their kids, sending out cards to family members with their kids holding guns, because guns are so important, right after school shootings at an elementary school. Sandy Hook wasn't enough. Since then, we've had way too many, an influx, especially under Donald Trump, of mass shootings. So much so, we have now the number goes to determine a mass shooting is, I think it's like 4 or more. They're happening so much. Marginalized communities, children, just because. And the same police that are supposed to protect us, that Donald Trump loves to uplift, are the ones saying that some of those mass murderers were just having a bad day. Remember when the people went out and they were rallying out in the streets because of monuments being taken down, and people were beating on each other, the whole thing, blaming Black Lives Matter, which they still do. And Donald Trump said it was both sides. Do you want a leader who can't see? And I would say Joe Biden right now is playing the game, a similar game when we look at Israel and Gaza. But Donald Trump will go. I can see it right now. Not only will we see a war there, the war will be here. The war that we're already having, racial wars, we will see that here. This is a man who literally stood before Black people, allegedly, if there's Black people in the room, and told them that he's liked by Black people because of his arrest records or of his criminal record. This is what he thinks about us. This is what his base thinks about us. We've talked about this on the show. It's very low. What he represented when he was in office, I had to cover so much death. I had to watch my back. I had to listen to voicemails of people threatening my life. I had to watch videos of people who were demeaning me, picking me apart because of what I looked like, because of what I discussed. This is the same president who called my home country, where, a shithole country. Black immigrants get the win. He wanted to remove DACA, which we know is an immigrant, is a program for immigrants to be here, the Dreamers Act. Then TPS, which a lot of, I know, family members who came here for under TPS. And most recently, I remember him trying to roll back the TPS program under the Title 14 guise of, letting Ukrainians in, but not Haitians, because saying that the probability of them having or bringing in COVID. Black immigrants are unseen. Okay? Biden ain't no better. I would have wanted him to discuss more on immigration. However, I'm saying to you guys right now, if we lose that leadership, it can only get worse. So we can have him in office and we can hold him accountable. We can have him in office and we can hold him accountable. And we can force at that time, we can literally put the pressure on. We can make him uncomfortable. It should have been I know we're respectful. Camera done went off. Let me get my battery. But I know we're respectful. While Marjorie Taylor Greene was screaming in the room and the other Republicans were screaming at Biden, we could have heard. I wanted to see some of that instead of the Kamala Harris doing her squats and clapping for every talking point. Hold your leader accountable. Why not? Why not? Go ahead, David. Let's run another clip if you have that one of him talking about immigration. David, you still with me? If you have him talking about that one with immigration. But I say all that to say, as I'm running my mouth here, this is a very, very intricate time. This is very interesting. And listen, I'm with you guys. It sucks that we are in this position. It sucks that we have to choose between that. It really does. But this is our life. And I want us to be wise about our choice. Do we ever agree with anybody that's a leader presidentially? Do we ever agree with them? No. But I think that we have to be mindful, and we got to keep the leadership, and we got to keep it close to at least where we can be heard in some way, shape, or form. Donald Trump will white out that White House, and that Donald Trump will bring back whatever he can that's going to cause more division, more stress. War. War. All right, let's take a listen to what Biden said about immigration. And there are a couple of things here. I hope that it's in the clip that I wanted to point out with that as well. Let's take a listen. And yes, you're right.
And serious negotiation.
Ton Bosin in the chat, you are so right. Biden does have to fight for those votes. He definitely does. And I wish in the State of the Union address that he wasn't going for just talking points and Kamala Harris wasn't back there just clapping it up. I wish that and Mike Johnson, the speaker, wasn't just turning up his little square head face. I wish that there was more. I wish that we saw more of the leaders having the conversation of holding them accountable. I didn't like when they were doing the walkthrough. If you guys were watching in real time, once again, I didn't like when they were doing the walkthrough and it was a photo op opportunity. That could have been a moment where listen, Marjorie, well, I don't know why my battery keeps dying, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, listen, she was in there ready with her pins and her props and all those other things. But yet, like, I understand we had the ceasefire there, but I wanted to see more of the Democrats not just so surprised and taking their pictures and all of that. I wanted to see some of them having real conversations. Hey, Joe Biden, listen. Like, I wanted to see more of that energy. Come ready. Sometimes I feel like the Democrats they don't be coming ready. They don't be hitting it hard. They don't be doing what they need to do. Like, listen. It's great to look unified, but what we do know is that we don't support Joe Biden and where he's standing right now. And the same way them Republicans be shouting and doing all that, I want to see some of that fervor. I want to see some of that grit within the Democratic Party. Go ahead and run that clip for me on immigration while I get this camera together.
Remember, my team began serious negotiation with a bipartisan group of senators. The result was a bipartisan bill with the toughest set of border security reforms we've ever seen. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, you don't like that bill, huh? That conservatives got together and said it was a good bill? I'll be darned. That's amazing. That bipartisan bill would hire 1,500 more security agents and officers, 100 more immigration judges to help tackle the backload of 2 million cases, 4,300 more asylum officers, and new policies so they can resolve cases in 6 months instead of 6 years now. I will not demonize immigrants saying they are poison in the blood of our country. I will not separate families. I will not ban people because of their faith. Unlike my predecessor on my first day in office, I introduced a comprehensive bill to fix our immigration system. Take a look at it. It has all these and more. Secure the border. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, and so much more. But unlike my predecessor, I know who we are as Americans. We're the only nation in the world with a heart and soul that draws from old and new. Home to Native Americans, and ancestors have been here for thousands of years. Home to people of from every place on earth. They came freely. Some came in chains. Some came when famine struck, like my ancestral family in Ireland. Some to flee persecution, to chase dreams that are impossible anywhere but here in America. That's America. And we all come from somewhere, but we're all American.
Interesting. What I wanted you to play is when he initially called them illegals with a hard I. And it was interesting because that's the conversations, because it flowed so off of his tongue. So while he's saying that we're all Americans, illegals, right? Could have been a slip of the tongue, but it was so natural. And that's how he has conversations, I believe, about immigrants. To talk about funding more border patrol, is that really necessary? We've seen what border patrol can do. Remember, because I can go back. And the reason why I want to go back is I'm Haitian and I had my family member under the bridge. I believe it was September 2021 or whenever that was, 2022. I had my, family member under the bridge that I was going to go get. And he called me and he was like, Border Patrol out here whooping our behinds, taking away our food. They told us to come here. They said that there was a program for us. They said that asylum seekers can come if there's a war, if your country right now is just not fit to live. And in that particular area where my family from is right where the issues are happening in Haiti, even as we speak right now. And I said, okay, this is an opportunity for me to do something. I got a family member right there in Texas. I can make that drive. I can get them, claim them, figure out something. But Border Patrol was doing what they needed to do. Remember beating them like with whips and chains. I know they're being sued now for that whole situation, as they should. I'm talking about Border Patrol over there in Texas. But do we need more of this for innocent people? Because they're pretty much innocent. They're looking for better lives. And there was a program here that was said to go ahead and give them better lives. But yet there was white carpet, red carpet for the white folks of Ukraine who were going through similar situation to come, get in hotels, all of the above, in a similar situation. But yet they treat the Black immigrants, because here in this country, the Blacker you are, especially if you're an immigrant, the lower you are on the totem pole for getting assistance. We know what Border Patrol does. We've seen what they've done to immigrants under Donald Trump, when they're just picking people up and throwing them in what we call camps and the environment. So to fund more Border Patrol, what would that help? What would that help? What programs can we offer if we're all American? Right? What other programs can we assist with the immigrants? Can we talk about the stark difference of their treatment? Can we do that? These are talking points that he's giving for those hand claps. Even in the clips that you're playing, they use those moments that are good, solid, because they know this is the internet. People who didn't catch it, you catch that, you're going to be like, Biden was talking. Biden did his thing. Biden did mention some points. But when mentioning those points, I didn't hear how it was going to assist. For me, even mentioning drugs, we already know the conversation that is surrounding the borders and with the latest drug. What is the latest drug that's out? They're saying is coming from immigrants. And that's what Border Patrol is going to help us, with. So fentanyl, yes. People, when they hear fentanyl, which to me is an American drug, I don't hear nobody outside the country talking about fentanyl. Talking about the drug and then talking about immigrants. This is what we're saying but we're all American. It gave division to me. So with that being said, like I said, strong points for Twitter quotes. Strong points for Democrats to place on their social medias, the White House to have on their page. Strong points for Joe Biden to campaign with. Strong points. Let's play a little bit more of the immigration conversation, and then we'll move on to the next one.
I know you know how to read. I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and
Sound,
Senate
David.
would endorse the bill as well, the majority right now.
I apologize about that. While we get that handled and fixed, I wanted to also hear from you guys in the chat. What were the specific things that you guys saw stood out? Because we'll have that conversation. What were the specific things that you guys saw that stood out with the State of the Union address? What would you rate it? They asked me on Thursday evening what I would have rated the State of the Union address. I said I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because of him, like somebody said in the chat, him actually speaking directly to the Republicans and getting them together about bill that they passed and was like, oh, but didn't you guys pass this? And then didn't you guys holding them accountable? That was good energy. I would want to see more of his colleagues do that with him. The same way that those Republicans walk in unison. Let me tell you something. I don't like what the Republicans stand for. I don't like what they stand with. I don't like I don't like any of it. But one thing they're going to do, they're going to stand in unison. Even if they're disagreeing with each other, they're going to be right together, sitting there. Just like the Speaker of the House was, making sure he stuck right there with his Republicans, with the conservative views. Making sure he made sure that everybody knew what side he stood on. I don't want, just because you say you're a left, you're a Democrat, you're a liberal, you're that. I don't want for it to look like, oh my gosh, Joe Biden. That's not unison. You got to be able to hold this is where I'm saying, you got to be able to hold your leader accountable.
But unfortunately,
go ahead.
I know you know how to read. I believe that given the opportunity for a majority in the House and Senate would endorse the bill as well, the majority right now. But unfortunately, politics has derailed this bill so far. I'm told my predecessor called members of Congress in the Senate to demand they block the bill. He feels political win. He viewed it as a political win for me and a political loser for him. It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself. I understand. But look, if we change the dynamic at the border, people pay these smugglers $8,000 to get across the border because they know if they get by and let into the country, it's 6 to 8 years before they have a hearing. And it's worth taking the chance of the $8,000. But if it's only 6 weeks, the idea is it's highly unlikely that people will pay that money and come all that way, knowing that they'll be able to be kicked out quickly. Folks.
So pause there. You see what I'm saying? So imagine him saying we're all American, right? Perfect part. Imagine him saying we're all American, we're all that. Then Marjorie Taylor Greene saying to say her name. He does say the person's name, then refers to the person. This is a situation that doesn't happen often, mind you. More people are killed by Americans and mass murderers right here by these people who are buying rifles every day. But you want to point out somebody who was killed, which is terrible, which I'm glad that Joe Biden mentioned that. To call the person an illegal, you see what I'm saying? Again, illegal, and say that our borders are going to be so protected. It's giving me the wall, but our borders are going to be so protected. They know that if they were to come here, they won't come here because we're going to basically put fear into them because they know that it'll be up to 8 years if they come here. But who are those people? Are we saying that because of this situation, all of the illegals that want to come here, are we saying that they're all the same? They should all go to jail. This is what they should fear even coming here. Isn't this, you just gave us the we're all American speech. This is it's a melting pot. We've come here by force. His family came here because there was a famine, right? They had to come here. They had the option of packing up and coming here. Some of us were forced here. Others are still fighting for their native lands. They were forcibly removed, indigenous people. But this is the conversation that we're having surrounding that, just because you wanted to. You see? Now, imagine, come walk with me here. Walk with me. Imagine if Marjorie Taylor Greene was a Democrat who yelled out, say the number of the amount of Palestinian people who died. Imagine that energy right in the room from one of our Democratic leaders. And him speaking to that, forcing him to speak to that. Imagine. And this is where I say we got to hold him accountable, because they coming into the room. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been on his neck since he was walking in. Not only does she have her little props and stuff, gave him a pen that he carried with him up on the stage, put it on the side. And I like that he did recognize what she was saying and recognize the woman's death and her family. But what about those over 30,000 Palestinians that you helped, to me, die? Come on. What about it? So now we want to talk about undocumented illegals and put fear in them because Marjorie Taylor Greene said so. Why did you fall for that? If he was able to talk to Marjorie Taylor Greene, I imagine if one of our Democratic leaders were able to push that pressure on him. We're talking about it needs to be done. Shake the table. Give us something to work with. That's where we're at right now. Moving on. What's next on the docket before we get to the Republican response? Give us a little something. And I'm thinking abortion. If we have that clip, we can go there, because I mean, I think that was a great conversation to have about his plans on abortion, women's, bodies. Let's take a listen.
And with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that. Clearly. Those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024. If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
All right, restoring Roe versus Wade would be monumental. And the fact that it happened, period, was problematic. It being removed right up under our nose. But you could say abortion. You can mention those things. What else? I know that he had the woman who lost her child in the room with her story, which was great, because this is what I've seen in political, State of the Unions before. They've always had an example in some way, shape, or form. I remember watching one with Donald Trump, and he brought a family who had, again, the same thing Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to point out about undocumented people, but I was going to say illegals, how he said it. But with that, it's like I need him to speak. This is great. Talking points, having the conversation. Roe versus Wade, that's a big deal. Bring bring it back. That we should have our right to choose, like nobody's business, because it's not white men's business who are in power. It's ours. Okay? So we should have our right to choose. Yeah, we'll get to the January 6th, David, right after this, because I know we're cutting in on time. I got to get this together. But because I could talk to y'all for days. But what else, Joe Biden? How? When? Hearing the women's story, there are women who can relate to that for sure. What else? What particular things have women gone through that you could have talked about here? I felt like it was more so, let's give these stories and let's move on. Roe versus Wade is a big deal. Other things about the reproductive system that have been taken away from us. We need those. I think what I'm saying to you guys is the details. We were lacking the details. We were just giving, it was giving performative. All of these great points, all of these great conversations. He did bring, that's what it was. It was IVF. He brought up the IVF and how they are trying, we know the story with IVF, and they're trying to see if they can make it basically considered like aborting a child. It's a whole thing. They want power over our bodies even with IVF. Donald Trump and friends want to make it illegal, want to make it hard for us, you want to take our power, all of the above. And I think this was the perfect time for him to go into detail about what he would do, what that would look like for us. Even when it came to cutting student, I know he spoke about cutting tax cuts for the wealthy, which is good. I mean, that was a hand clap and a plausible moment there. Those people aren't scared of that. Republicans aren't afraid of that. Is it going to happen? He talked about cutting student debt. And when he talked about cutting student debt, he mentioned on how much and to who. I want y'all to raise your hands in the chat on, were you one of those people? And mind you, great for the people who got their debts cut. And of course, there is opposition that is stopping us from getting, some of our student debts cleared. We understand that. And who he's worked for, who he's done it for already is great. But who he promised it to, it wasn't just particular people, it was all of us. And I didn't get that cut. And the people that he named, I wouldn't have. I didn't meet those requirements. So even with that, it's just like, look what I've done. Look what I've done. Look what I've done. But there are people who have been complaining. What about the complaints? I want to mention those. Why are people voting uncommitted? I wanted him to touch on those things. Not look what I've done and look what since I was younger and since this and then what I needed more from that. Let's take a listen of his January 6th and then we'll move on to the Republican, because I can go in and all this whole thing. But I'm trying to move on quick. Stay with me here. Let's take a listen on his comments about January 6th.
You were here on that darkest of days. We all saw with our own eyes the insurrectionists were not patriots. They'd come to stop the peaceful transfer of power, to overturn the will of the people. January 6th lies about the 2020 election and the plots to steal the election posed a gravest threat to U.S. democracy since the Civil War. But they failed. America stood. America stood strong and democracy prevailed. We must be honest. The threat to democracy must be defended. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win.
That's a good point. Right? Strong moment here. Republicans in the room, mad, upset. Our boy, what's his name? Mike Johnson, you said his name was. Speaker sitting there mad, not saying anything. That's very telling. And you guys, listen, Biden, I just ripped Biden to shreds just now. Gave him about a 6 out of 10. But imagine having somebody like the speaker, because we're looking at what it would be. I don't like to me, somebody just clapping for everything, and that's what Democrats do. This is what we're looking at right now. Look at your screen. This is the representation of what we have right now. We have the speaker who doesn't give a damn. That will be the Republicans if we have Donald Trump in office. who really will sit there while people are making points and actually holding them accountable, and they will sit there and not give a damn. They don't care. And then we have people like Kamala Harris, who represents our Democratic leaders. And that's what it looks like, is we're not getting anybody holding each other accountable for real. Now, shout out to Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, and Alexandria. A lot of those women who are standing 10 toes down on the ground, doing what they need to do. But in this room right now, I mean, I know it's cute. Not cute. I know it's you're making a message, but this room needed that Marjorie Taylor Greene energy, but on the Democratic side. And yes, that was a strong statement made. You can't only love America when you win. You can't. What we saw on January 6th was disgusting, was repulsing. We should remember that day like we remember 9/11, because that was a terrorist attack. It happened to be domestic, right at the hands of our own. People sitting in that room helped fund American terrorists to get to the Capitol that day. Donald Trump looks at that day like a glorious day. They were in there. They stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop. I believe defecated somewhere in her room. They took emergency buttons from underneath our representatives' desks. What were they planning? They had zip. Are we forgetting this? I'm gonna break it down to you. They had zip ties. Zip ties. They were jumping fences. That was on January 6th, 2020. And we're sitting here and allowing Donald Trump another opportunity. Be for real. Be very, very for real. Now, and Maul, says, I disagree. The clownish hackling on the right side ain't the norm, and we shouldn't copy that. You're right. But there's a way to be addressed, right? If that got Joe Biden's attention. And I think it needs to be, when Biden was walking through, it shouldn't have been photo ops. It should have been conversations. If you can't get to him on a regular day, this was the moment. It shouldn't have been photo ops. It shouldn't have been none of that. It should have been, listen. It should have been those moments that were in there. Marjorie Taylor Greene stayed on his ass from the time he walked into the room. And who got attention? Marjorie Taylor Greene did. Not the signs of ceasefire. I know. I don't even like what politics has become. But they're responding when people are getting loud. He's addressing it. We don't want to sit there and coddle Joe Biden. We want to hold him accountable. And guess what Donald Trump was doing? This is who they say want to be the next leader. While he was home watching the State of the Union address, he was using filters. He was using filters on Joe Biden's face. A child. He's a child. That's who y'all want as your next president? No, sir. No, sir. Now, let's take a listen real quick. We got 5 more minutes and we're going to head out, y'all. Let's take a listen real quick to the Republican response from Katie Britt, somebody I never heard of in my life, but they say she's up and coming. Of course, she's a conservative. She's a senator. I don't know from which state, David. Let me know so I get it correct. But let's take a listen to her response, because it's always some random person. And this time, they took her from the abyss. I don't know. But let's listen to what she had to say and make it short.
Biden's border policies are a disgrace. This crisis is despicable. And the truth is, it is almost entirely preventable. The American family needs to have a tough conversation, because the truth is, we're all worried about the future of our nation. The country we know and love seems to be slipping away, and it feels like the next generation will have fewer opportunities and less freedoms than we did. I worry my own children may not even get a shot at living their American dreams. There's no doubt we're at a crossroads, and it doesn't have to be this way. We all feel it. But here's the good news. We, the people, are still in the driver's seat. We get to decide whether our future will grow brighter or whether we'll settle for an America in decline. Well, I know which choice our children deserve, and I know the choice the Republican Party is fighting for.
Oh, that it was creeping me out. I was, we need her. Like, what was that? It wasn't giving any. She ain't strong enough. But you know what the Republicans did? They done spread that around like, wow, amazing. They will literally take the most mediocre thing and try to make you think it's great. And they're gonna be on the same page with it. Who the hell is this lady? Katie Britt, she's from Alabama. Senator from Alabama. It wasn't giving what she thought it gave. I know my voice is raspy. Voice is super duper raspy. But was she trying to evoke emotion? Because it was giving me like a killer series. Like the voice of those women murderers from Lifetime. Y'all know what show I'm talking about. She gives me one of those people. She scares me. But there was nothing strong about this. But what the Republicans did do was choose her. You know, she's weak. They be choosing the weakest link, push them out there. And then they will raise them up, carry them through, do all of the things. And then we'll see her in a different position, right? That's what they do. Democrats, we all over the place. Can't even keep a seat. Can't even really focus on the things that can't even focus on holding folks accountable. There's not as much unity as people think. The way that I've seen our own Democrats move away from conversations like abortion, move away from conversations that included diversity and inclusion. It's a lot of division. It's a lot of division. Holding people accountable doesn't mean that we can't even present as unison. But we're watching more and more grifters from our own party, from the left. That means the head is messed up too. It does. So I say all that to say, Joe Biden wouldn't be my first choice, but right now he's all we got. But if we want this heavy breathing lady and friends to present to us lies and have their base believe that it's true. And these are the people that be walking around us, your dentists, your lawyers, your police officers, all of that. The division, the people who hold tiki torches, the people who see Black people with something on their shirt that is expressive of their love for being Black and scream at them obscenities. People who go to the grocery stores and just start opening fire because they don't like Black people. Or marginalized groups. People who go out and tell you that wearing a mask is anti-American. Y'all remember that? People who go out and fight our frontline workers because our frontline workers are trying to take care of them. Y'all remember that? People who will walk out in solidarity with guns and not people after children are obliterated. Y'all remember that? People who will stick with talking points they know nothing about because the right said so when it comes to Palestinian people. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember when we went out in the streets to risk our own lives, to tell officers to stop killing us? And our leader of the United States said that he stuck right beside the officers And the people that did the murder had his right-wing channels saying that George Floyd's death was a hoax or something that was brought upon himself. Talked about his nails instead of his death. Yeah, remember that? Is that the America that you want? I know America is messed up right now. I know it. I know it. But this is what we have, and we have to at least have something that we can hold on to so that no more breaking, like taking away women's rights. LGBTQIA plus community will not be marginalized and afraid to just go to a nightclub, afraid to just go out and be themselves and not be blamed for the death of children when it's guns. When immigrants don't have to be afraid to look for assistance or help and not be treated like slaves because they came looking for a better life and be thrown into these immigration camps while they're funding more border patrol, building walls. Y'all remember that time? Because I do. And I don't want to go back. See, did I just give you guys the lady's voice just now? That's my real voice. But I'm evoking emotion because I mean that shit. I mean it 100%. Think about it, y'all. You have your local leaders. That's an important thing to vote for. I know Joe Biden is not our best choice, but baby, let's not go back. Let's not go back. Let's hold them accountable. Let's start pushing other people towards the forefront. We need something different, but we need something to work with. We need something that is going to give us the ability to move a little bit, to do something. And while you're doing that, look at your local, look at your state, your local, look at all of that. And see who's leading that area of your state, your hometown, your city. Start educating yourself on that. It'll make you feel better. It's probably somebody that you don't even know that has plans on doing good. And your vote will definitely count. Fannie Lou Hamer, man, oh man. We're talking women's history. She fought for our rights to vote. It's Black people, Black women. She fought for our rights to vote. She had to endure so much. Being beaten by the cops, spit on, had to speak before everyone. They didn't want to even broadcast her point. So don't turn around and think that this is the way to go. And that's my opinion on it. Y'all can fight me on it. I love you anyway. But think about it. All right, we're at the end of the show. I had a good time with you guys. Thanks for rocking with us. I want to read the 3 super chats and also the people who sent a Cash App, a love offering to me. Smokey Rose, shouts out to you. Latif, thank you so much. And you can put up the super chats, David. We get Mike Thompson. We appreciate you. Thank you. I love you so much. Thank you. And I appreciate you. Omega Star said, my jaw hit the ground with the whole illegal thing. Yeah, he said it with a hard eye. Me too. Me too. Tunbosun Oyen, keep it up. I'm gonna get it. Tunbosun Oyenuga. Tunbosun Oyenuga. I hope I got it right. Oscar-worthy performance. How many takes do you think she needs on this? I don't know, because it wasn't giving much. It wasn't giving us much. It wasn't giving us much at all. But listen, if you're still here with me, that means that you've been rocking with us. Rocking with me. It's a solo show. We flying solo, like it or not, with Rebecca Zoe. That's what the show was called. It is. It is. And I hope you guys had a good time as we broke down some of the parts from the State of the Union address. There were so many more. I know we didn't hit them all, but listen, 6 out of 10 for me. Like that he pointed out some things. Got a little, gritty with the Republicans. Had a nice back and forth. But not too sure what that's going to look like. We don't know. But what I do know is that I'm happy that you're here with me. Because of you, I am. Because of you, this show is. So you already know what to do. Head over to patreon.com/like it or not. Patreon.com. Okay, the second time was good. Okay, gotcha. I had to think about accent. Okay. But head over to patreon.com/like it or not. Patreon.com/like it or not. And please give a sow a seed, because baby, this program that we're on right now still has a past due, and we got to pay that. Also, if you are so inclined to tip your host and just be my producer today, please be sure to do so. We got Cash App, that is DKG87. That's our David. That's David, our producer, DKG87. And we also have, thanks for the super sticker, Mario Drake. Thank you for this year's super sticker. And then we have Becca's Voice on Cash App. Thank you so much, you guys, for your support. I love you. Thank you for rocking with us. It is Saturday. I don't know what you're doing. I know tomorrow is the time to make sure to spring forward on your clocks. Spring forward on your clocks. I know they're taking away an hour. I'm already sleepy, but we got more sunshine. So for those of you who are like me, who get that seasonal depression, the light is coming, baby. We're going to get some light. We're going to be outside. We're going to get some sun. We're going to get back a little deeper melanin, because I'm missing it. I love you guys so much. I'm going to head out. David, drop something cute for the people to listen to. And I am out. I love you guys. I mean it. I want you guys to enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll see you guys Thursday with Leftist Mafia, 8:30-ish. And I'll see you guys next Saturday right here on Like It or Not. Mwah. See ya.
Really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Clothes the matches they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Clothes to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out. So right now, say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time to ride it out. It's your time. Oh, cheers to all the haters, 'cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Clothes to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out. It's time to say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now.